John. Jeff is here. Jeff's our new service writer. Most of you guys know him. Eric, give a show of Eric. Okay, back there, he's been our #1 mechanic for quite a while. Today we're going to talk about changing a tire on the trail without a jack. Most of you guys probably don't ride completely by yourself. As long as you have one other machine with you, it's easy to pull the machine up and change a tire without carrying around a heavy jack and messing with all that. We're also going to plug a tire. Most of you guys are probably familiar. I think Dennis is going to volunteer and show us how to plug a tire today.
Boy. How many slugs?
Right. We'll touch on the radio etiquette. Kind of first off. Most all you guys, well, a lot of you guys have radios. Super handy to have. Biggest thing is check that they're working prior to your ride. Do a radio test. Make sure they're on, working, volumes are set correctly. We see all kinds of things like, somebody saying the radio's not working and they got their volume turned all the way down and they don't realize it. So everyone's trying to troubleshoot it and it's just a volume issue. Or check that your antenna is tight on the roof. Those things vibrate, they come loose. Make sure it's snug. Don't over tighten it, but just make sure it's on there and tight. Make sure your channel is set the same as everyone else's. Biggest thing is radios for emergency use. Don't be, it's for, hey, I got a flat tire. Hey, we need to stop. Nothing more annoying than being on the ride with 10 people and everyone's talking about what they did last Sunday and then everyone else has to chime in and put in their own comment and, especially if you're somebody who likes to listen to music, you never get a chance to hear it. So, try to limit the radio talk to necessities. That's what they're there for, is emergencies and stuff you need to relay onto the group. And then after our tech talk, Savino and Scott will get more in depth with functionality and settings and the rest of it. So I don't carry a spare. I just carry an air pump and tire plugs. You can get some pretty inexpensive air pumps. And generally you can fix a tire by plugging it with 1 or 2 plugs or 10, but you can usually get it taken care of. There's a drill.
Big time. All it takes, one big care. Yeah.
Yeah, John, to you.
$150 for you, buddy. It's on sale. Discount it. That's right.
So generally you're going to have a nail, a stick, screw, something in there. Sometimes you can just be punctured from a stick or something. I usually use some water. Try to air the tire up. You can usually find the leak, find the bubbles with some water or something. And then you can get these tire tool kits anywhere. We usually sell them here. You get them at Walmart. You get them just about anywhere. Once you find the hole, use this to ream it out. Obviously, you get your plug in the tool. Put some cement on it, just a little bit.
Takes a little work.
And push it all the way through.
Push it all.
Right, a lot of times once it gets through, you end up pushing the whole thing in, so just kind of go easy. And then when you can pull this out, you gotta be kind of quick about it so it doesn't pull the plug out with it.
Oh.
Sometimes I'll even take some extra cement and pour on or around it, and then you can see if it's still bubbling, or that cement will help seal it. Want to try it?
Bubbles coming out of there or not?
Nope. It might, just a couple small ones at first until that cement sets up. So it's probably fine.
So that's okay. We need to do. You want it like that.
Okay. Okay.
And then this goes through here. So you open it up
Nope,
somehow.
nope. You squeeze this in, and then you put that through, just like putting a thread in a needle. A thread through a needle, just a little
Oh, I
fatter.
need my glasses.
Well, it's not that small. Okay, now go ahead and pull that in through. Yep, just keep wiggling it back and forth. Go about halfway. There you go. Okay, so you've got it set. Okay. So now let's go ahead and we'll do this. It'll be probably a little bit easier depending on the size.
So do you do this
Push,
a little
yep.
bit? Do you wiggle it all the way?
Yep, and all the way down.
If you get a really good one, you don't need that tool.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, if you get a real good hole, you won't need it, but that just helps clean it up. Slowly. There you go. So you'll pinch yourself.
Yeah. And then, no, this is my home.
No.
I know, but all the family and everybody's around there. They're in Colorado, so.
I lived there for 4 or 5.
Go ahead.
I lived there for 4 years. I was in school.
Oh, university. Okay, yeah.
It's a small hole, so it's actually. Keep going. You're getting there. There you
Super.
go. Almost. Pull it slow.
Real fast.
Pull out. Pull it fast. There you go.
If it's a small hole like that just takes one plug and it's not in the sidewall, I've had tires for, I mean, a lot of miles that I run. I mean, I've never had a set of tires that didn't have plugs. Obviously, the first thing you would do is crack your lug nuts loose. Let's say we got a flat tire here or in the front. If it's a back tire, you forget to crack them loose first, it doesn't matter because you're in park and the tire is not going to turn. If it's a front tire, you do need to loosen your lug nuts first, otherwise you're going to be fighting it. So you get your lug nuts loose, you make sure the car is in park. Could be bad if it's not. Depending on the cage and the roof design, I like to grab the machine from the other side. That way it's got leverage to pull it over. You can hook, directly on the passenger side over there somewhere, but at that point you have less. You're not putting any downward pressure to roll the machine up on its side. So depending on the metal roof design and where you can hook the strap to plays a role in it. So this is James' machine, so I'm not worried about tearing up the roof, so I'm going to hook it over here. So I'm gonna know somebody who went swimming and we had to hook a few of them together to get to them. But tell me when the mirror touches the ground. Well, you could aim low range. That machine was slipping the belt a little bit. You guys probably noticed that. Definitely don't try that in high range. What you don't want to do with the winch is, one, if you have the winch hooked up, you don't want to put the machine in reverse and try to pull in reverse. That's not good. Secondly, you don't want to, same thing, you don't want to spike load or jerk that winch line. So you want to put the machine in park or neutral, put the foot on the brake, and just use the motor. Always stand clear of those straps. If that strap were to come loose and break, it's going, it's either going that way or back at you. So while you're pulling it over, while you're working on it, try to stand off to the sides.
He thought I was going to call for it.
I'm the one plugs in her tire yesterday.
There's what, $60? I think we something like that. I'll have to look at it. But yeah.
We've created a pre-ride checklist. One of the biggest things, one of my pet peeves is tire pressure. None of these tires hold air perfectly. You let them sit for a couple weeks, they're gonna be down a couple pounds. You got one front tire that says 13 and the other one's a 16, and you're gonna notice that driving. You get on pavement, you're gonna notice it pull in one direction. Every ride, every day, I check my tire pressure. You can buy a little slime tire pressure gauge, you know, again, Walmart, anywhere. Check your tire pressure every ride. So we're gonna pass around our pre-ride checklist here. I'm just gonna briefly talk about each line item. Do not try to clean your air filters. If you got paper air filters, don't blow them out. We have multiple examples of guys who blow them out from the inside out, and it blows, it's hard to explain, but it blows the dirt back inside of that air filter, and then it will dust the engine. When air filter is dirty, for the 40 bucks, however much they are, replace the tanks. It seems like we have almost one engine a month in here tore apart for rebuild, and it's 90% of the time from dirt ingestion. So for $40, replace the air filter. Every time you pull that air filter and it's got a cloud of dust, the dust that's not the heavy sand that's falling to the ground, but the cloud of dust that you breathe in, you're blowing back inside of that filter. Wheels and tires. Again, check your tire pressure every ride, every day. If I'm on a 3-day weekend ride, every morning I'm going to check my tire pressure. I don't grab a torque wrench and torque my lug nuts every ride. But I know that when I installed them the first time, they were torqued. So if you're a do-it-yourself guy and you've had your wheels and tires off, yeah, make sure they're torqued properly. What's the torque like? It depends on the machine. Generally, Can-Am X3s are 110 foot-pounds. Polaris Razor 1000s with a 12 mil stud are 120 foot-pounds. The older Mavericks with a 10 mil stud and older Razors like 75. So it really depends on the machine. But they do need to be torqued properly, and you do need to take a look at them. Like I said, you don't need to torque them every ride, but just make sure they've been torqued once, and then take a look at them. Check your engine oil. Pretty basic. Before you ride, just check oil. You never know if you sprung a leak somewhere, hit a rock, cracked the oil pan, got a stick. There's a lot of things that can happen.
This 60-watt radio, I've reached out 118 miles, okay? So if you're out there and you're saying foul language or you're talking about somebody, the world is hearing you. So be careful about that. But one of the biggest things is if you're on one of the trail rides, one of the reasons we post for the club, particularly, we post what the frequency is going to be for that ride that group that you're in, is that so the leader, the middle person, the tail gunner already know that frequency. It's for the other people so they can monitor it for safety reasons. If you're going along and that leader, and if you're out there riding with 5 of your friends out there somewhere, and that leader says that there's a car coming the opposite way, fast speeds, if you have the radio, you can hear it and you can move over because you're most likely out of the dust trying to stay aside, and it's not safe. So pay attention to that, but if you're on the radio talking, the leader can't talk over you, okay? You're talking, so make it short bursts when you're talking. Don't make a long conversation out of it. Make short bursts and then have fun with it. That's one of the biggest reasons. The other reason is that if you say that let's say I'm doing a ride and I'm out there and I say I'm turning left out of the wash. Okay? Don't say that, because unless you have left out of the wash at the corral, something like that, because the group might have been spread out 2 miles and you see a turn out of the wash left, you're staying back out of the dust, so you don't see that guy in front of you. So you're saying, well, they said left out of the wash, and you turn out of the wash and you're out on your own somewhere. So make sure that when you're, as a leader, you're telling the group that left out of the wash at a certain spot, or mile such and such when you zero your odometer out. So that matters, okay? The other thing is that the reason why the leader says it, the tail gunner repeats it, and the middle person is that sometimes with these small radios you can't hear that leader if they're 2 miles and they're in a canyon, but the tail gunner can hear it. So if the tail gunner says copied left out of the wash at mile 46, then you're looking at your odometer and you say, okay, we're going to make a left turn out of the wash. This is the type here that you buy at Walmart. This little radio. Those are family service band. They're UHF radio. The difference, you have UHF and you have VHF. I don't want to go into all that stuff because it's confusing even to me. But this is UHF. This doesn't match up with any of the stuff. So if your friends come in town and they're going to go riding and they have, well, I got this from Walmart, they can't talk to you unless you have a 25-watt radio, which has both bands, UHF and VHF. You have to have that specific dual band radio. The reason why the 25 and the 45-watt radios are the only ones that have that is because the FCC won't allow that the wattage to go any higher. So anyway, this is what that is. This puts out milliwatts of power. Okay, that's very little. These that Rugged sells and PCI sells and the rest of them, they're VHF radios. They're dual band actually, and they put out 5 watts of power. That's the limit that they can put out, these. So the range is, it's good for if you're in a group, just to, starting off. I asked Rugged when they first came out with these radios, why in the heck would they do these? And they said, to me, it's a teaser. It gets the people a cheap way into it, and they see that they want it, and invariably, everybody that's bought these has wanted to get the bigger one. So what I say right off the bat is save your money and get the bigger one. Okay? Or if you have this, they're $100 around there, so get this, but it's not going to be any good once you get the bigger one. The bigger one can reach out miles, 30 to 40 miles. I've reached out 118 miles with mine before, so it's big. This reaches out, maybe you can get to that trailer over there. That's how the difference in these radios.
How much is the bigger one?
Well, that's why I said save your money. Save your money. They range a kit. Okay, there's variations. Okay, the radio itself is probably 300 at the most. The radio that's installed. And then you put the intercom in there, and then you're up there. You're up to the $1,500 bracket with the headsets and the whole 9 yards with the whole setup. These are nice to have, but you're going to want something different when you get going. This is Bluetooth, so you can hook this up with this thing. You can hook up your phone. The beauty about these, the intercom, I'm not talking about the radio yet, this is just the intercom, is you can have the system in there, and, well, with the antenna hooked up and stuff, you can hook up your phone, and if you're expecting a call when you're out on the ride, it'll come through and you'll hear it in your headset, you push your answer button, and you can talk through your headset, whoever it is. If you're making a call, a lot of times when you're out there riding, and we do a lot, is that you get a head count, and then you have to call the restaurant to let them know. So you're driving along and you can call the restaurant and talk through your headset to tell them we got 20 people coming.
That looks like you don't have cell service.
You have to have cell service. Okay? You still have to have that cell service. But that's the beauty of these. And you can play with Bluetooth, you can play music, and it mutes out in the background as you're talking. So it's a way to go on the thing. The radios, this is the most popular that we sell, is a 60-watt radio. It puts out 60 watts of power, like I said. They have bigger ones, more expensive, 110-watt radios, but this is the most popular, and this is pretty much all you need. With these hooked up in a car, you can hear, if it's a 2-passenger or 4-passenger, you'll hear, and you have with the headsets, you don't hear that outside noise at all. These radios, they go into some of the basics. Again, it's a VHF. This stuff here is VHF. This UHF. You can buy if you have friends that come in and they use the UHF radio, or let's say you go up to the mountains and the group up in the mountains they're on UHF frequencies, which doesn't allow, the FCC won't allow a lot of power. So that's why we go VHF down here. You can get a 45 watt radio or a 25 and do that. On the radios, the best thing I can say is bring it to somebody to have it installed, okay? When you get it, you can take the Just Money Motorsports, they install, I install. It's better to have it installed to get it done right, to cut the antenna. You don't have to match the antenna length to a certain length now, but it's important. A lot of people have a problem. They're going along and say, well, I can't reach it. They're not hearing me anymore. They're not reaching out. Well, what's happened is they've taken their headset, either they switched headsets or they plugged into the passenger's plug, and now they're pushing their push to talk and trying to talk. You can still hear it through the other system because it's picking it up through the other headset, but it's not working right. So if that's a problem, make sure your headset is hooked into the plug that matches the steering wheel or the drive shaft for the push to talk. That's important to have it there. Otherwise, if it's switched, then you get a real weak signal. The beauty about the headsets is that, let's say you were going to hop in my car and ride with me, just bring your headset and just hop in there and just plug it in. They're all interchangeable, both PCI and rugged radio. The little radios, what they require it's a pigtail that comes out off of this, because you don't want to have to hold this and then talk, through your thing. So you have this mounted, there's a mount for it, let's say on the car, and then you have a push to talk, but there's a pigtail. One goes to the push to talk, which is on the steering wheel, and the other goes to the headset. That's interchangeable on the behind the head headsets that are used for that. Your volume on this, you want it up, but if you go too much, then you're over modulating. You're sending it, it's going to be garbled to the people you're hearing from. Okay? I mean, that you're talking to. So don't go all the way on this knob. Okay? This knob here is for channels, your different frequencies that you use. This here, you have on this particular unit, you have a inside dial. Now that dial is they call it box. What it is basically voice activated system. If you're sitting in a controlled atmosphere, and we have this in the garage in there, we can set this and set the sensitivity up so we can whisper like that. When you're out going along and you have wind coming in, that's picking that wind up. It doesn't know that you're, where you are or anything. So you have to back off on that sensitivity. There's a point there where you start talking. If you count to 10, you'll go 1, 2, 4. It'll miss numbers. So you have to pull just hit it one notch and then try it again. You want to get right to that threshold there, to where the wind isn't picking it up or not on that. This. If you go all the way with this, then that's going to pick up engine noise too. It's real sensitive, and it'll pick up that engine noise. So once you set this stuff and get it set, you shouldn't have any problem. What do, there's a switch kit we put with this, so all you have is an on and off switch on there. The only thing you should have to do when you come to your car is hit and dial in what frequency you see at whatever ride you're doing, if it's weatherman or whatever. Okay. The frequencies you see on the radio. All these radios that PCI puts out or rugged radio, those are the two top manufacturers. They put out a list that they were given, these frequencies were given to them by the FCC years ago, and it's been added to. But it's a big list and has all the different race teams on it. When you see Gordon on there, that means Robbie Gordon's channel. Okay? When you see Mag 7, which is the same as our Havasu 1, that's a pit group that goes down to Baja, and if Eric goes down there with his race car and they need to have pits, rather than spending $50,000 to send groups down there all the way down the peninsula, he'll pay into this thing $1,000 and give them tires for each stop where he needs and gas where he needs it. They take it out there, and they have a group that does that. Now, when he's coming in, the race car's coming in close there, they can switch to that channel and tell them, we're coming in, 924 is coming in, 2 miles out, we need a spare tire, left tire and gas. So these are all along there. So that's one of them. BF Goodrich has that. They all have these. So those are the channels you're seeing on. All those names that you see on there are that. We use those a lot. People out here using it. The one that says Weatherman has absolutely nothing to do with Weatherman. The founder of PCI Radios, Bob Steinberg, he, years ago, back in the 60s, in the first Baja races, they needed radio communication. He went down there and he set up this weather balloon way up in the air with the antenna in it. And that's how he communicated down the line to all the different teams. So the team started naming him Weatherman. You need an emergency thing, you get on that channel and you call Weatherman. He's got relays set up all along there and you reach out. One of the problems we have here, I know that doesn't mean that much to you guys because you're not down in Mexico racing, but it does mean a lot here. The power of these radios you can pick up. There was a race up in Laughlin this weekend. A lot of the race teams were up there. They're using their radio frequencies. I'm sitting in my house, in my garage, and I can hear them on the radio. These radios put out that much. So what that means is if you're on a ride, you went out, Keith took a group out on a ride this weekend, if he's on one of their channels, they're hearing the same thing. So they're interrupting, you're interrupting them as much as they're interrupting you. If you have your music so loud through this, you aren't going to be able to overcome that. So your music should just be soft and then it fades out when it goes. But you should be able to hear yourself talk in the machine. A lot of people do that. They start off and they have this. You have to talk through the mic. The problem with that is that you're hearing all the outside noise too. And so it's hard to pick up through this little speaker here, pick up that. Now I've added, you can get a bigger speaker. I did for Roger Cole. I put a big speaker right behind his ear there, off of this unit to start with. Then he went in, it's $1,500 or whatever. That's a lot of money to spend on this stuff. But it's worth it, and you can build up as long as you have the right stuff to start with to build up. And you just start getting up there, and before you know you have it. The beauty of the helmets, now you can add in the best way to go is the pumper helmet. And what that is a blower with a filter, and you have a hose coming in.
That's got one.
He's got one on there. He's got the blower and the filter and the hose. You put that on there and you're in this controlled environment. That dust just doesn't exist. You're right, you could be right up on a car and no dust at all. You get out and you're clean, you're breathing clean. It's so good. So that's the best way. And the radios hook up right to it. So you have the radios, you have the blower, and it's the best way to go. This is what the helmets look like. So you're in a space type, you're in this, there's a skirt that goes around this and puts down. When I used to race, I take it in the warm races and stuff, that skirt, I put it inside my driver's suit, and that air from here would blow down through my suit and keep me cool. So it works out good. So with that, the hose hooks up, and that's the best way to go.
Eliminates a lot of engine noise and outside noise.
Oh yeah, you're in your own environment. In fact, I liked it because I heard this little, the air breathing, almost like a sea breeze type thing, and it puts you in your own environment. $40 for the extension that goes here, or you can have the wire coming here. But that's, by the time you did all the other, like John said, the windshield, everything like this way, and you're in this controlled environment the whole time. And they've come out over the years. One of the reasons I went to a headset years ago is that because of my neck, I got plates in my neck, it was just too dang heavy. But these are so light now that, They're so light.
John, $500.
I know. $500 just went down there. They're so light that you don't feel that. You don't feel that, and you're sitting on that, so you're controlled. The only problem with that is it feels like you're a little bit restricted right here. You know, but that's it. You'll get over that. And if you're riding in California, you have to wear a helmet. So you need it anyway. And they have variations. They have behind the head headsets with a little over the wall helmets that go on. Kids in this state, anybody under the age of 17 has to have a helmet on. I don't care if the kid is this big in the car. It's ridiculous law, I think, because, you know, little kids I can see, but you have to wear it.